There is a story that intellectually I'm not interested in, nor should anybody be interested in, but we're fascinated by it. And it's this crazy idea about Brigitte Macron. Brigitte Macron. Is she a man, a dude, a feller? Does she have a cuny, whatever? Let's answer this once and for all, because Candace Owens has been fixated with this from day one because she wants to, I guess, score the next Big Mike, and that's a whole other story as it is. It's the most incredible story in the world. Is it important? Is it not? I don't know. But on July the 19th at the Cutting Room, believe it or not, I'm going to be there. Or we're going to be talking about that and other stories. So tickets are available. Check it out. Come on and say hello. Because this ain't comedy. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. So here's the story. You're going to love this. On the never-ending saga of this. And by the way, she does look like E.T., but, so what? So the story is that French journalist Natacha Rey has once again forced herself into the center of international controversy. And this time, the courts are no longer siding with the establishment. It seems that Rey, who ignited a media firestorm by alleging that French First Lady Brigitte Macron was born a male, a dude, a feller with a three-piece set. Well, she has been acquitted by the Paris Court of Appeals, and this dramatic reversal, announced on July the 10th, today, upended a previous conviction that had been celebrated by Macron and her allies as a victory against defamation and conspiracy theories. Well, the new decision not only nullifies Rey's 2024 defamation ruling, but also opens the door to a lawsuit she now intends to pursue against Brigitte Macron, herself or himself or theirself, for what she calls fraud and the manipulation of the French judicial system. Now, at the heart of this saga is a claim that would have been unthinkable in the pre-social media era, that Brigitte Macron, the wife of President Emmanuel Macron, is not the person she claims to be. Now, Rey's original allegations, published and discussed through alternative media channels, argue that Brigitte was born a dude under the name Jean-Michel Trogneux. I have no French pronunciation. Trogneux, okay? This is a claim that the French mainstream media and political class rushed to denounce as transphobic, delusional, and defamatory. But Rey stood her ground, insisting that her claims were rooted in documentary evidence, by the way, pretty much echoed by Candace Owens, who got there first. In any event, she claims she has documentary evidence, inconsistencies in biographical records, and what she described as suspicious government interventions. Now, in 2024, Rey was found guilty of defamation and sentenced to pay dommages, that's damages, to both Brigitte Macron and her brother Jean-Michel Trogneux. Now, the ruling was, which is interesting, the ruling was widely interpreted as a warning shot to independent journalistas and investigators who dared to question the political elite. However, the Court of Appeals determined that Rey's right to a fair trial had been compromised, citing irregularities, among other things, inter alia, in the initial process, including improper handling of evidence and questions over judicial impartiality. So this reversal sent shockwaves through France's legal and political circles, suggesting that the case was far from closed, and that perhaps, maybe, Rey's accusations were not as easily dismissed as many had hoped. Now, Rey's reaction, as you can imagine, was defiant. Speaking to reporters after the decision, she declared her intention to countersue not only Brigitte Macron, but also members of the judiciary and legal teams whom she claims weaponized the courts against her. Now, her legal strategy, she says, will target what she calls judicial fraud, political bias, and abuse of authority. Good luck. Well, at least in our country, that's called lawfare, asked President Trump. Now, according to Rey, the original lawsuit was less about protecting Brigitte's honor, and more about silencing dissent and enforcing ideological and political conformity. So, Brigitte Macron has publicly denied all allegations, calling Rey's claims, quote, grotesque and offensive. Her legal team has dismissed the acquittal as a technicality, emphasizing that the core accusation remains baseless and harmful. However, in the court of public opinion, the damage is already done. And the acquittal, coupled with Rey's determination to push the matter even further, has reignited a conversation, not just about gender and identity, but about transparency, whatever the hell that is, elite power, and media manipulation. Now, the French media, predictably, as you can imagine, has split down partisan lines. Establishment outlets have largely refused to cover the appeal decision in depth. Gee, I wonder why. They buried it in brief news blurbs or ignored it altogether. By contrast, alternative news platforms, hello, including those aligned with nationalist or populist factions, have treated Rey as a whistleblower, a kind of a Joan of Arc, a Joan of Arc battling an elite that wields the courts like a sword, and I hope can avoid immolation. Now, internationally, the story has been picked up by free speech advocates who warn that France's defamation laws are being used to stifle and quell and destroy and uproot and derail political inquiry and legitimate journalistic skepticism. Gee, imagine that. Now, it should be noted that the issue here is not just about Brigitte Macron and their past, but about the integrity of French institutions. See, if Rey's allegations are completely without merit, why then did the courts violate due process in the original ruling? Why the rush to judgment? Why the lack of transparency? These questions, far from being addressed, have only been met with silence from official channels. And for many French citizens, this has become less a question of Brigitte Macron's gender and more a referendum on elite accountability. Now, the implications go far beyond Paris. See, Rey's acquittal also arrives at a time when skepticism of the global political class is at an all-time high. From Trudeau, that weirdo in Canada, to Biden in the U.S., to even Michelle Obama, the whole Joan Rivers thing. And with Candace Owens stirring the pot, citizens across Western democracies, everybody, they're beginning to answer the question that the narratives they're told, especially when these narratives are enforced through legal, technical, technological, or cultural coercion, whether these are true. Now, in this climate, figures like Natacha Rey gain tremendous traction, hero status, not because their theories are proven, but because their persecution confirms a broader public suspicion, this is important, that powerful interests will stop at nothing to maintain control and to destroy anybody who dares to unsettle that control. So Rey has already hinted at the international collaboration, saying that she's in contact with foreign journalists and legal teams interested in pursuing border freedom of information requests and the like, investigative partnerships, because Brigitte has opened up a can of worms that she could have just either stopped by just maybe admitting it. I mean, this may sound stupid to you, but what if she says, yeah, I was a male? That's it. What are they going to do? Throw Emmanuel out? Because the whole story, when he met, she was a teacher, and it's a weird, that's another story altogether. But this is about the suppression of speech. And it's not about, well, that's unfair. The question is, do you think, and this is important, do you think that it's critical that there is a basis for citizens to have and asking whether their first lady is a man? That's really the question. Would you have the right to sue on determining what her blood type is? Well, maybe not. But I don't understand this. It's the fact that you have denied this, the fact that you have pushed back on this, means it's true. You only take flack when you're over the target. If I went to you and said, you're not a man, whatever your gender status is, you're a cisgender, you would say, okay, I'll make a few bucks and say, let's go to town here. I'll show you. I mean, the whole thing is weird. I can't believe how stupid these people are, how they allow this to get out of the way. But the other issue is, again, is it anybody's business? And how can this creepy woman, did you see where she's slapping him recently? See where they came off the plane? She's slapping him. Get your hands off me here. It's just bizarre. But here's the thing. What the French should say is, look, if it doesn't bother us, why should it bother you? It doesn't bother me. And why is Candace Owens so, because Candace Owens is a mean girl, and Candace Owens wants to up her cred and her subs, and I understand that. But the bottom line is simply this. Anytime somebody beats the system, somebody scores a point for transparency, then all of us win. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's absolutely true. So what do you think about this? Do you think there's any merit? Do you think this is relevant? I want to hear from you. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Subscribe! Think about this. And comment as you see fit.